Okay, can you see me now? Yes, you can. Yes, I know you can because I can see me too.
I can't see you, honey. Oh, there we go.
Can you see me now? Yes, you can. See, reason why I need to get off mute. So, I mean, get off Clubhouse. I'm going to get off Clubhouse temporarily. If you do want to participate in this, please go ahead and join us. And let me add you on there. Collins, real quick. Add a guest. We're practicing this.
Wait, sorry. How come you don't want to do both?
Because you can, because it's mute. It's when I
echoing.
Yeah, it's echoing. Do you think?
Okay, I don't.
Can you hear it?
It's not echoing right now.
There's a delay.
Yes. I think delay's okay, but echoing is not okay. But it's up to you. It's up to you.
You're saying delay's okay.
I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay, calling. Let me see. Oh, let me know when you get this email. We're really gonna be doing some big things here tonight. So I will introduce myself when we get on that on YouTube, just because I know some people who probably were not part of this discussion will probably be asking like, what are they talking about? All right, Colin, you should probably get that. Brown, you're here. Freddie, you're here. Would you like to be invited to come up? Are you in a place that you can look handsome all by yourself? Freddie? Okay. I sent you, Freddie, I sent you, if you can join, you can join, that's fine. If not, totally understand. But Conley, you should have received it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for yep, got it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just
This is so exciting. Wow. Okay, guys, this is me. Okay, I'll leave Clubhouse for people who are coming in. But if you are on Clubhouse, the Agile Genie. Oh wait, that is you. That's Freddie. Freddie, it's you. Wait, I'm going to try it. I'm like, who is this person? Okay, so let's get started when Colin come. Gotta drop and come back. All right. New things. And yes, we're doing everything new. That's it. All right. You, what's up? I like it. I like it. Cool. So we can wait a second while we're waiting for Colin, I can go ahead and just introduce myself again. Thank you everybody for joining the call today. I am Anna Bangham, your favorite Scrum Master. If you don't know me, Google me. Okay, no, that was corny. But no, if you don't know me, that's because we haven't met before, but we're meeting for the first time. I am a Scrum Master, senior Scrum Master, and an Agile coach. One thing, oh, Colin, you're driving. One thing you should know, I'll add you to the call. Okay, where we going? Okay, no. I'll get to Collins later. Where was I? I'm a safe program consultant. I also have written a couple of books. I'm an author. I have 4 books that's out there. One 90-day guide to becoming a highly effective Scrum Master.
Best-selling book.
Yes, it will be a best-selling book. That's Manifestation 2023 all day. And the other book is starting a new team, an agile team from scratch. And then I think the third book that I have there is PI planning, ebook for PI planning. PI planning is around the corner. Most companies are probably doing this right now, but it's out there for you. I'll put the link in the bottom if you're interested in doing that. Okay.
Sweet.
So it keeps echoing. So I'm just gonna get off. Akuyemi, I'll look to you to help me out, but I'm just gonna get off Clubhouse for a second. Cool. So hopefully I don't get the echoing anymore. Today's conversation is really for us to focus on how can Scrum Masters help product owners or just the team prioritize. We can talk about this from a team perspective, personal perspective, and just the job in general, right? But before I get started there, Colin, I'm going to have you introduce yourself and tell us where you're going.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Colin, safe Scrum Master, and I love learning. I've done different things in the previous life, but the one thing that is has always been constant for me is a love of learning, a passionate love for learning. So whatever I pivot to, whatever I change to, I always want to continue learning, and I think that with Agile is the same thing. And that's why I love Anna so much because like these sessions, these platforms is always about learning. And we keep learning new things every day, like qualification, for instance, yesterday.
Today was Arturos?
Yeah, Agilis.
Arturos,
Mm,
okay.
yeah, I think was it? Yeah.
Listen,
So, as you can see, I'm in the car. Just brought my daughter to basketball practice. Uh, and while she's in there practicing, I'm out here talking Scrum and Agile.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Talk about multitasking and being in two places at once. Um, Thank you for your dedication to the community and the people. And I
Mhm.
know I think this is the first time we're meeting each other. And
Yep. Yeah, we keep talking on Clubhouse, but this is like our first face-to-face
I love
sort of
it.
conversation.
So, what are your thoughts regarding Scrum Masters helping out product owners in prioritization?
Well, I mean, just based off of my experience is, especially, I mean, you look at the business value, you look at deliveries, and then before you even start talking about breaking down tasks into user stories. So sometimes, depending on, what the delivery deadlines are for the product, those are the first things that you look at, and then kind of like write down, do all the tasking, the big, small, um, probably the short-term and long-term goals, and then determine which tasks, are important for that particular delivery cycle. And then once you've done that, then you can look at the user stories and determine which ones, will lead you towards that delivery cycle, or well, that delivery deadline for that particular cycle. And in doing that, you can now work with the product owner, and sometimes, I mean, with my teams, I have both a product owner and a technical team lead. And so I work with both of them to determine what our schedule is, what our delivery deadline is. For instance, our next delivery deadline is in March. So everything we're doing right now in terms of planning and prioritization is geared towards delivering that increment in March. So, and that's essentially, how we work towards it.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I guess like another thing to add there, right? I tend to look at this because most of our audience are aspiring Scrum Masters. They're not even
Mhm.
Scrum Masters yet. So I like to talk about it from a personal standpoint and
Okay.
then get into the work. This is 2023. A lot of the times, a lot of people have a lot of things that they want to do for 2023 from a family perspective, health perspective, relationship perspective. But in our reality, you can't do all of those things at once, right? So
Exactly.
there's certain things that you need to prioritize for yourself. For instance, at least for me, my health is priority for 2023,
Hmm.
and health can come in. This health is too wide, right? It's too broad. So, and specifically, when I'm talking about health, I'm talking about not just like high cholesterol health. I'm laughing because you know. Um,
Hmm.
not talking about high cholesterol health, not talking about weight health, but also maintaining fitness, right? But in
And you're always in the gym, girl.
I am. See, that's the problem. Just because you're always in the gym does not necessarily mean that. So that's a good thing because if I was not in the gym, that high cholesterol was to be off the roof. But as minorities, we tend to have a lot of deficiencies in that area. What some of us tend to do, depending on where your genetics, right? Also,
Mhm.
that's why it plays a part into that. But just staying on topic here, um, for me, health wise, I want to be able to maintain, right? What are some of the things that I want to prioritize to do? One, drinking more water, right, into my
Mhm.
diet. eating more vegetables and fruits, right? So that it can reduce, and not all, even though like some of the sweet stuff can have my glucose, my blood sugar. I'm not a nurse or anything, but I just know a little bit about it, right? It can have, so I'm looking for low, what is it? Low tolerance, but will give me greater results, right? And the
Okay.
first thing I need to look at first off, first thing first is looking at the health from the health, but I mean looking from uh, uh, I guess like the health perspective, right?
Okay.
What is the
Yeah.
thing that I can do right now that does not require so much, but can give me the higher results, right? One thing I'm looking right now is I'm increasing, right, water intake and also applying more vegetables and fruits in myself. It's very low cost, right? I'm not
Okay.
paying somebody to go to the gym to go lose weight.
Mhm.
But if that was the next step, then I would take the next step as far as prioritizing what would be the next thing for me in order for me to maintain my cholesterol rate. But
Mhm.
health for me is priority, right? Um,
Mhm.
and then when it comes to just speaking of prioritization, from a work perspective, we have when Q1 is around the corner, right? A lot of product owners, everybody tend to have lots of work in the backlog to do. But
Yeah.
all of those things cannot be done at the same rate, at the same time, and it all does not have the same value. So the
Mhm.
same thing that they're going to need to do, what is some of the work that would take less amount of effort but provide the most value to them, right? So I see that there are people having issues. What's happening? Crucifix bar, what's happening? So I'm not sure what's happening.
Is it
Um,
on Clubhouse or on YouTube?
This is on YouTube. I'm getting a message here. If I'm not two speakers speaking at the same time, it seems like it's saying that we're speaking at the same time, but that's not the goal. Oh, two speakers speaking at the same time. We're just having conversation. Everything that would have happened on Clubhouse, I think you probably came late, is what is happening on a live video right now. That's what's happening. So if you have questions for us regarding the topic we're talking about, is how are Scrum Masters supporting their teams and organization with prioritization? So we were just sharing from our perspective how we're prioritizing ourselves and how we're translating that into the work, how we can help our product owners to prioritize. I hope that's making sense. But so back to prioritization technique for helping teams, right?
Mhm.
When I go to teams, I tend to ask the product owners. Most of the time, product owners do know what they're doing. Sometimes they don't, right? It just all varies. Um, it all varies because the product owners that were put into the role and not given the proper training, right? Which is so important for Scrum Masters to know some aspect of what a product owner should be doing so that we can be able to guide and coach them. Have you experienced in a position, been in a position, Colin, where you came and the product owner was just like doing everything in the sprint planning and you're just like, what is happening? Because I can share my experience of that in a little bit, but have you experienced that on your in your side?
Yeah, I think I've had one experience where the product owner was trying to do everything. But eventually we got to the point where he understood what his accountabilities and his role was and what my role was. But I mean, it was we had a good conversation and to try to sort of delineate what the product owner's roles and responsibilities are and what my role as a Scrum Master is, and we got along famously.
Oh, okay, that's great. So I had similar situation where I was just hired on a team. That was one of my first Scrum Master jobs. I was just hired on the team. I was doing observation. We work with international teams, and then I realized that the product owner. We went to sprint planning, so I was not per se um, taking any responsibility for any of the meetings yet because I was just shadowing, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
went to sprint planning. The product owner literally, right, started prioritizing the backlog and ordering the backlog.
Oh
And
wow.
through the conversation, they changed everything. And this didn't happen once, it happened like 3 times,
Mhm.
right? So you can tell that the team members were confused. Like there was a lot that was going on, and it was just like she was herself was confused as far as like what was priority over the other. So I let it go. Nothing. I said nothing. I just was asking questions. Are we comfortable with what it is that we're having the team do?
Mhm.
And that's why it's also good for you to help your team set goals, because if there was a goal, there would have been a focus on that meeting, right?
Yeah.
So I just didn't do nothing. I just like wrote it down, and then I had a meeting one on one with them to understand. Hey, while I was in the meeting, I noticed that you had shifted some of the priorities a couple of times, and it seems as though you weren't quite sure which one went over the other. Is there more to that? Right? Just an open question. And
Mhm.
and then they shared that, they've been working in the company not so long ago. They were put in this position as a product owner. It's been challenging for them to kind of prioritize from their perspective. And that's why I was like, okay, is this like something you're looking for help, right? And that's another thing with Scrum Masters when we come and talk to product owners, we need to
Mhm.
ask, are you ready to get help?
Mhm.
Right? Because sometimes we start going and trying to be like this person that is trying to tell them what to do. And then now it's like they get off that meeting and now they're sizing us like, who did they think they were? Or who do
Mhm.
they think you are? Right. So I was like, is this something you're looking for help from? Because I can definitely help. I've been in a position where I had another product owner going through similar situations, and they were like, yeah. And I said, okay, well, have you thought about the Moscow technique? Right. So that means is whenever we're in a meeting, we're focusing on what are some of the things that we must have.
Must have.
If this was to be released like next week, right, or next sprint, what are the
Mhm.
things that we must have? And so she literally wrote down Moscow, right?
Mhm.
Like every time we went into planning, she had that with her.
Mhm.
She was so appreciative because it was just always she was asking herself every time. So we started setting up one-on-one. I started setting up regular one-on-one with her. We go through the backlog and just go through and say, okay, for all the things we have right now, which of the things do you think we have to have? And which are things that we should have, but if we don't need it, then we don't have to use
Mhm.
it, right? So that's one of the prioritization technique that has been shared in the manner that it was shared, right?
Yeah.
When it came to a release itself, and we're deciding which of the features need to go in, then you can use the Canon technique, the Kano technique. That's really customer focused, right? It's like if some of the features were not delivered, right, from their perspective, from
Mhm.
a user perspective, are they going to be comfortable? Are they going to be upset, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a upset customer, we don't get money.
Mhm.
We don't get
True.
funded, right? So that was it. Was like I provided the templates for them. I had the conversation with them so that they can understand what it looked like to prioritize on their own, right? So that they can be able to have direction for the team, because there's a ripple effect when a team does not have focus,
Yeah.
right? And I guess, Colleen, maybe you can share with us what are some challenges that you've seen or malfunctions or impact when a team does not have direction?
I think it speaks a little bit to what I said yesterday about, I think in response to, I think, was it Blessing who asked a question about, was it Blessing or Mary? About, daily stand-ups, just extending and extending. So I think, well, yeah, when I first joined, the team had practically no focus. I mean, every meeting was a design meeting. Um, you get into a meeting, somebody asks a question about a user story, and it turns into a whole planning session on one tick, and it just kept going and going, and a 15-minute stand-up ends up going on for 2 hours plus. So I had to sort of like, talk to the product owner and say, hey, look, you know what? Every meeting has a purpose, and we have to focus on what that meeting is meant for. What's our sprint goal for this sprint? Like, oh, this is what we need to deliver. Fine. Okay, this is what we need to deliver. Then let's look at what the tasks are that we need to do to reach our sprint goal. And then when we go into a stand-up or planning meeting or a backlog refinement, let's work towards that sprint goal. And based off of that, when we go into a stand-up, our stand-ups are not status meetings, they're not planning meetings, they're not design meetings. What they are supposed to be are supposed to be just updates. You come in, you give an update, and if there's a blocker, we resolve it. If there needs to be an after party, well, I call them after parties, but more like a parking lot. So if that needs to happen, then it needs to happen one-on-one between the engineers who are involved. And so, just based off of that, you know, the whole team became focused. So rather than meetings dragging on and taking time and just going all over the place, meetings became more focused. Stand-ups were stand-ups. Backlog refinement was backlog refinement. Sprint planning was sprint planning. So I think that was just a little bit of my experience with that. Don't know about you.
No, that's amazing though. I think one of the things that teams struggle a lot with is separation of meetings,
Mhm.
right? Where sometimes they just want to talk through everything, but in all reality, not like everything has its time and place.
Exactly.
And if you don't, as a scrum master, where you go in, it's really challenging for you to know when to stop, like when to interrupt. And
Exactly.
one thing I have always done, I always tell people, I always tell the team, sorry team, I just want to really understand, is this something that can be offline? Is this
Mhm.
something that everybody needs to know about, or is this something that needs to go offline? Because if you don't, just like that, your meeting will be sidetracked, right?
Exactly.
And another thing too that will help you with discussing prioritization is having an agenda, right?
Exactly.
Have an agenda for everything. Even if when I know everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, I still have an agenda for it. And when I come to the meeting, I literally still say what the agenda is. And then I ask the team members if they have any concerns or if they want to add or add anything into the agenda at that time. But I think it's so important for you to have focus in that meeting because just like
Mhm.
that, you will be sidetracked from your prioritization, from you
Exactly.
prioritizing what's most important. And then
Exactly.
and then you go on with the next thing and nothing happening.
Mhm.
Right? It's just like, but we as Scrum Masters, we play such an amazing role, like such a critical role in ensuring that the teams are being held accountable
Accountable.
to stay
Mhm.
on task, right? To provide
Mhm.
focus, because if they don't have focus, then it's really hard for them to be able to achieve the goal, and then they'll be sidetracked, and then at the end of the day, guess what? They will not be able to deliver in the
Deliver.
time span that they said they want to deliver,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
we play such a critical role in ensuring that for the teams, and or just to support and guide them through that process so they can then understand that.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
And I think one thing I'd like to add, Anna, for those
Mhm.
listening, especially for, again, because I think, again, I'm not sure. I think it was Mary who said she didn't get a second stage, her second stage of her interview. So now the thing is, when you get to an interview, you're going to have all of these scenario-based questions. And what Anna is doing is actually giving you scenario-based answers. Nobody wants to come into an interview and give a textbook answer. What they want to see is for you to actually give a scenario-based answer to a real-life problem within the agile or sprint process. And I think that's
Mhm.
what's important here. So when you're going in there, just think of all of this, take note of what Anna is saying, and just note it down because it might be something that helps you when you go for your interview.
Yes, absolutely. Intent for us is to provide information so you can make the decision on how you want to use the information, right? So I see a question here. It said, how do you guys handle dependencies with other teams, and how do you track your releases? So I think this question probably might be coming from somebody who actually now, are there existing releases that your team or organization have agreed on the cadence, right? That could be one question there. Because normally when you have releases, you can do it as most of the time organizations tend to be have the similar cadence when a sprint ends and when it starts. From our organization, it ends on Wednesday or Thursday, right? Each sprint, and some sprints end on Thursdays, some sprints end on Wednesday, depending on where you're working, right? For the purpose of when we do have releases, it will be aligned. And when we also have quarterly planning, it will be aligned, right? So we have uniformity across that board. So as far as like dependencies, we work through that with Scrum or Scrum. So my organization, or I guess my product area right now, is working on a scale daily Scrum, where we talk about it from a scale daily Scrum. If you're not familiar with that framework, it's coming from I think it's 2021 or 2027, 2017. I'm sorry, 2017 coin.
I was wondering whether you were going to the future.
Yeah, look at me. It's coined under it's coined under Scrum at Scale. Yeah, Scrum at Scale. And in that model, they tend to have a meta Scrum Master, which I have been that. And they also tend to have they have a meta Scrum Master. They have uh, not a release train, but they have like a daily Scrum daily, which is all the product owners get together after they stand up, after our teams stand ups. The product owners have their own stand up. They have a meta planning where the chief product owner is there. There's a chief Scrum Master, and then there's the regular Scrum Masters, right? So in that daily Scrum daily, we have conversation as far as like dependencies, how we're doing towards progress, and if there's like opportunities for us to hear what other people struggles that they're going through and opportunities for us to help, we offer solutions to help. If we use that platform as an opportunity for us to also let other teams know that we have something going into the backlog for them. And then as far as like the tools that we use, we have Jira Align, that if one team, like Collins, me and you are working together, you have dependency on my team, you send what it is about, you request it from my team, you also tell us when you want it to be committed by, when you want it to be done by. Based on what you say you want it to be done by, we will discuss it with our team and see if it's feasible. If it's not, we have communication with you in that daily Scrum and just say, hey, based on what we're doing right now, we don't have the bandwidth, and or we can push it on to wherever we need to go, right? So that's how we're dealing with that. You can also deal with it in the tool in Jira. Jira is another way you can deal with it. At least in my prior organization, we had a joint board just for dependency management from all the other squads that are together, right? And we would just consistently track and see who is depending on what, and we use what is it called?
Roadmaps.
Yes,
Roadmaps.
we use the roadmaps, or we use queries to do that
Okay.
too, right? Queries through the Jira filter. We use filters and labels to do that, right? So we don't have Scrum and Scrums. Maybe that can be an opportunity for you guys to create one. It doesn't have to be big, as long as there's either a Scrum Master or a product owner can attend that meeting, or anybody on the team that also have information regarding what you guys are working on. And if it was two teams, like have some type of cadence, right? Because I also had two teams that seemed to had the almost like sister teams. I just have every week we had a agreement every week, once a week we had like a connect sync, right? Just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're on track. If there's nothing going on, we don't put it on the calendar. But if it's something we know for sure, which is most of the time, we just have that regularly on the calendar. Because what it will end up happening is when the team members don't put it on the calendar, then it becomes misplanned on our part, and then it becomes emergency, right? So it becomes our emergency for them when we didn't plan accurately.
Yeah.
Right. So if you guys are also doing backlog refinement, you should be able to capture some of these dependencies on your radar, right? Because then you'll be able to you'll be able to leave comments below to understand how you can help the team in the future. I hope that answered your question, David. Um,
Hopefully. And just to add, I mean, like when you look at your Jira board, it's easy to see. You have, when you look at it, your user stories, just below, if you expand the user story, you can see where it says blocked by. So, and that's where Jira Align comes in, because Jira Align sort of, the Jira board automatically feeds into the Jira Align. So when you're creating the ticket and you know what ticket it blocks a particular user story, then it's easy to, I mean, once you create the link in there to say X ticket is blocked by Y ticket or user story. I mean, I'm used to calling it tickets because where I am now, it's almost like, so rather than user stories, just call them tickets. So depending on what is blocked, you create a link to it. Once you create that link automatically pops up on Jira Align because it's linked. So you can actually see what the dependencies are. And even if you're not using Jira Align, and using just the basic, well, not basic, but just using the enterprise scale Jira, once you have that link showing what user stories or tickets are dependent on or blocked by other user stories, then you can, once you open the ticket, you just see everything. And then that's where roadmaps helps, Jira Align helps. And then when you have the Scrum of Scrums, whether with the product owners, then you can discuss those dependencies and see what progress is towards the towards that particular ticket and how it affects your own work. So if you get there and you find from the other team that there's no chance of that particular user story being completed within the sprint, then there's no point in putting it in your own sprint at all in the first place until you are actually sure that that's going to be completed. Exactly. Otherwise, I mean, you're just putting a user story in the sprint that is going to get rolled over and that you have no control over.
Yes, and another thing that we need to help our teams do is when it comes to rollover stories or overcommitment, right? Which come to prioritizing what's most important. And for me, this is something that it's an ongoing thing with the team. Is like we need to understand. Sometimes when you do planning, everybody's like, "Yes, I can take it," right? But reality, we really got to be realistic. Can you really do it? So what we're doing right now, we're doing a test phase where the team members they say they do whatever they're going to do. At the end of the sprint, we look at their capacity, that their what is it, their velocity per person, like, oh, you took this and stuff, and we're seeing consistency. So in the future in planning, you're saying you're going to do that, we can go back and say, hey, let's be honest, right? This has been your track record, and the team is very open to trying that. It's just experiment, right? Because I read somewhere today, which I will leave this for another time. I read somewhere today, I thought it was really interesting, where Scrum Master said, if a story has been completed, if the story is rolling over as a carryover, what they do is that they resize it. They resize the story. Yeah, they resize the story. Whereas there's this other part. Normally, if a story was size of 5, or let's say it was size of 5 or 8, let's say 8, and it roll over to the other sprint, and then the amount of effort that's left is probably, I don't know, 3 or 2. So then what they will do is they'll resize the work.
That's I mean, like I've had, anyway, go ahead. When you finish, I'll come in.
No, that's fine. I have my fair share of
Yeah, so I've had that issue multiple times where you see sometimes even a 3-pointer sometimes gets carried over, and then you have to determine, do you carry over the full 3 points or do you resize the story depending on the work that's been done, and then turn that into a 1-pointer in the next sprint, or leave it as a full 3. Now, the issue with that, and I don't know if I'm getting too technical here because, like you said, there are a lot of
that was what I honestly, I just brought that up just to throw in the air. Maybe we can have another conversation. But
okay, so let's leave that for another day because that's probably it's probably way too technical. So maybe we should leave that for another conversation.
Cool. So that, I guess we would just find out here with our discussion. I hope you guys like it. This is our first time doing this. This is just a test. It literally a test, but a test. It was just an experiment. The experiment will continue on. That's it. So
Mhm.
moving
Yeah.
forward, every Mondays we'll have a live session here. I try my best to bring other practitioners to join the call and have conversations. I just think that there's just so many people that can absolutely use this information that's on Clubhouse. So if you're on
Mhm.
YouTube and you're not on Clubhouse, definitely find your way into Clubhouse. You can find me on Scrum Master Champions. There's over 4,700 people in the club. So I promise you, you're going to find network of people that are willing to help you and support you in getting to your next step. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's that. Collins, do you have any last minute food for thought here for the people before we jump back into Clubhouse and get feedback? And if you're on YouTube, please just leave your feedback on there. If you're listening right now, I think there's about 27 people on the call. Thank you for being
Mhm.
here. Leave your feedback on us. Like, did you like this? How is it going? If you have opportunities for improvement, what would you like to improve and such? But go
Mhm.
ahead, Colin.
Yeah, I was just looking at the comment, a second comment by David. He says we plan the releases during quarter plan. We don't have a scrum of scrums. So maybe David, this might be an opportunity for you to, speak to the other scrum masters and set up a scrum of scrum meeting. So it's nothing complicated. Just, I mean, maybe either once or twice. I mean, depending on your sprint cadence. So say you're on a 2 week sprint, you can set it for once every sprint. And then when you do that, just the scrum masters just get together and then just look at the dependencies. And sometimes, I mean, when you do that, even the portfolio managers, the portfolio engineers, um, can come in and sit down, and then you bring up your board and just look at the dependencies. So it's not a difficult thing to do, just to set up. I mean, even you can bring it up to the attention of whoever is your agile lead and say, hey, look, you know what? Just if we need to manage our dependencies, let's just have um, a scrum of scrums. So you have it once every sprint, and you resolve all your dependencies there. And then when you're doing sprint, during PI planning, you can also look at that. It's part of your. It can become part of your OKRs. During
Mm,
your PI planning, you just look at the dependency, because that's the best time to start managing the dependency ahead of time.
mm-hmm,
Because yeah, you look at what your increment is going to be, you look at what your release plan is going to be, and then you look at who depends on what. So and that's it. I mean, for me, I'm in a very unique position in my current job where my teams are not depend. It's a very and Anna, maybe this is something that you and I probably need to discuss at some point, because it's a huge organization, but the products that we build are not they are similar, but they're not connected to each other. And the clients, the customers are different parts of the government, right? One of them is the army, which is where you
the
probably are
army?
familiar. Yeah. So
What? Okay, we need to
yeah,
talk about this. You're
yeah,
going into my area
yeah.
of expertise.
hmm So the thing is, I mean, even though the engineers are almost all shared resources among the different projects, those projects are separate. So we don't have any cross dependencies, and each team is almost an independent team. So and the agile process is separate for each. So we don't have the same cadence, and that's a very weird situation. And then it's kind of both hard, difficult and easy to manage at the
Are
same
you
time.
are you in the federal space? Clearly.
No, the contracting space, but
But
yeah,
the contract, okay, maybe we can talk offline, not here. But you just got me
yeah,
really excited because,
I know,
I'm in, if you know, I'm in the military,
I
supply
know.
sergeant. So I'm looking opportunities to help soldiers to get into the Scrum Master space. So that can be a really good um, you know, talking points to help the soldiers. Okay, cool. So I see some comments here. People are liking this conversation. My clubhouse name is Scrum Master, and Colin's name is Colin.
Yep.
Right? So you can't miss it. If you get in the room, you're gonna probably find myself there, and he's gonna be in the recording. You can add myself and him. Okay. If you have specific topics that you want us to talk about on this call, go ahead and put it there. We will try to keep the conversations to be 30 minutes, just because the people attention span, and then later on we can reduce it to like 15 minutes and see. Right. It just depends the granularity of granularity. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say here.
I
The
know.
granular level of the topic. Okay, that's it.
This happens.
You guys are embarrassing me.
It happens to me too. It happens to all of us. Like
Listen,
you get and this thing just happened, and you're thinking, "Wait, I know this thing."
you guys should see me in my teams, right?
Yeah.
I'm such a goofball. Like
Yeah.
the team always laugh, and I'm just like, guys, if you laugh at me, I'm laughing at me too. So we're all laughing together. Hey, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Just like what I do with my team. So anyone who gets us over the time, over our time box, gets to buy the team pizza.
that's it. That's it. Period.
Mhm.
So no, this has been great. We'll definitely continue this motion going. And Colin, I hope you stay, because we'll be bringing more people here to talk about some really good stuff. And I'm really
Yep.
excited for
I'll
2023.
try. Although it's almost time to get this little lady off back home.
No,
So.
that's perfect, because we're jumping in the clubhouse to get some
Mhm.
feedback from people that were actually listening. And I just put a book over here, a Scrum Master Guide for PI Planning, a step-by-step guide. If you're a Scrum Master, you're going through the Q1, you're talking about dependency. It talks about dependency management. It talks about planning, PI planning in general, when you should start, and how to guide your team with prioritization, all this good stuff that we're just covering right now.
Mhm.
It's all in that book, and it will save you. That's if it doesn't come, I'll give you money back. Actually, ask for your money back. I'm not ask back. I'm not ask you anything. Just go take the money. All right, but no, Collins, all jokes aside, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining the call. This was so spontaneous. Like,
Yeah, and so fun too. Thanks,
I
Anna.
know. I like it. I like it. Let's do it again. Let's do it every Monday, each and every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's it. That's on the period. I'm going to stop the recording right now, and then
Okay.
we can jump back into Clubhouse for a few seconds. You say your daughter is about to be done with her basketball game?
Yep. Practice actually, so just gonna get her. But I'll join you on Clubhouse.
Okay, cool. Have a good one.
All
Bye.
right, you too. Yep, bye.
Bye, people, everybody.